Hi, my name is Friedrich Longin and I'm a professor for plant breeding at the University of Hohenheim with now more than 15 years of practical plant breeding experience. And in this short video I want to show you how wheat breeding is working and its success, which was achieved in Germany the last decades. First, what is wheat breeding? Imagine we have these two wheat varieties. The right one is very healthy, very green in the field, while the left one is suffering from fungal attack, which these yellowish brownish leaves which are destroyed by fungi. On the other hand, this has a very good baking quality, while unfortunately the agronomic good one has a poor baking quality. Breeding is now to recombine these two parents in order to make hundreds of thousands progenies to find at least one combination combining the good agronomy with the good baking quality. That means breeding is two steps. First, making a new genetic variation by recombining wheat lines, and the second step is finding the needle in the haystack, within the plethora of progenies, the good combination. When you're interested more in how to make recombination via crossing, look at my YouTube channel, there's a film on it. Breeding is slow and expensive. Why that? Look here on the left side is roughly a description of a breeding scheme. At the beginning we make the cross, and the cross means at the end we have only few kernels after 1 year season time. Then we get 1 ear, and then we get 1 row. That means we need several years to multiply seeds before we can go in really big field tests across several locations. Furthermore, in wheat we have to test for baking quality, and imagine when you have a single ear with maybe 40 to 50 kernels, you can't do any baking test. That means we need time to multiply seeds, and then additionally we need a lot of years to estimate the breeding value of the varieties, the potential varieties, how they perform across many locations and many years to be climate stable. And at the end we have a registration process that we are not allowed to sell them without this registration at a federal ministry, which is also going in Germany 3 years for wheat. That means at the end we are between 10 to 12 years to develop a new cultivar, which has costs of about 2 million euro. And after these 12 years, a plant breeder starts to earn money. Furthermore, we don't breed only for a single trait like grain yield. We have to fulfill many traits in parallel. Grain yield, disease resistance, here another example you see here, very healthy green one, killed one by disease. Furthermore, baking quality we have to improve, and then ideally we have to have a stability of all these traits across a large network of test environments. That means at the end we have between 15 to 20 traits to measure and select for, and to report at the end to show to farmers and people that we have a good new variety. Nevertheless, we are very successful, although we have this slow and expensive process. For instance, you see here different wheat varieties registered between 1960 and 2022, and you see a very large increase in grain yield per hectare. When we look here for the nitrogen use efficiency, we see an increased nitrogen yield across the registration periods. That means more modern varieties have a higher nitrogen use efficiency than older varieties. They make more yield, more protein yield with the same amount of fertilizer. And as nitrogen fertilizer is the main driver of greenhouse gas emissions, we have by these improvements by selection an improvement in the carbon footprint of wheat. You see here, across the different decades of breeding, we see a reduction in the carbon footprint per kilogram wheat produced. That means it's a tremendous success story. Not only yield is improved, but also nitrogen use efficiency and the carbon footprint per produced kg of wheat. And this is socio-economic very important. Let's imagine for Germany. We have here a soccer area which is 0.75 of a hectare. That you get an imagination of a hectare. And we have this increase of about 200 breds per hectare and year only due to this breeding success. 200 breds, you see here, is a lot, which is of tremendous importance to feed the growing world population under climate change. In detail, once again, the figure you have seen already, once again here, the increase is that we have more than 2 tons per hectare higher yield today than 40 years ago when I was born. We have a reduced protein content, which comes from the negative correlation between protein content and grain yield. But when we consider both together, the so-called protein yield, we see a clear increase via breeding the last decades. And in parallel, you see, especially for the red line, which is the baking quality wheat varieties, we see an increase and at the end of breeding a stable breeding performance, although grain yield was tremendously increased. And grain yield and baking quality is negatively correlated. That means an improvement of grain yield and a maintenance of low volume is also a big success. Finally, we have tremendous work on improving disease resistance in the field. I have here 3 examples. One is the disease called powdery mildew. And you see here, the higher the grade, the poorer is the resistance. That means we see a reduction in the grade is an improvement in the resistance across different periods of registration varieties. The same for septoria, which is a difficult disease to treat in the field, especially when we reduce pesticide treatments. And as a summary from another study, a summary of mildew, yellow rust and fusarium head blight, we see here a continuous reduction in the susceptible against this disease. And this is a tremendous important success story because it's the only way which allows us to reduce the use of pesticides. To summarize, although quite slow due to a long seed development process and a lot of field testing across location and years for environmental stability, plant breeding has largely improved a lot of traits, and especially the traits which were of main economic interest. That's we have a much higher yield per field area today and yield stability across different environmental situations. We have a reduced carbon footprint per kg wheat grain produced, with a much better resistance against diseases, especially against all the new races and diseases which are actually present. It's like in Corona times, you know, with the new mutations coming, it's in plant disease situations the same. Very often new races come within the given disease which needs new adaptation breeding. And it's the only one, to my opinion, which allows for pesticide reduction if intensively resistance breeding is successful. Furthermore, higher product quality is realized today, and especially adapted product quality to the demands consumers have today compared to 30-40 years ago. That means plant breeding is one very important pillar for future food security, for our food security in a situation where we have climate change, where we have a very large population size on Earth, and where we have other difficult problems like food waste, fair distribution of nutrients, etc. Thus, to my opinion, much more investments and especially more long-term investments are needed for plant breeding, as you have seen that plant breeding is a long-term research and development strategy. With that, I'm at the end. Thanks for following me, and have a look in these books and web pages where we are additionally present.